So one of my biggest pieces of advice is always just get out of your office. And I don't mean that in a mean way. I just mean the answers to these innovation questions and the answers to the value you can create are actually out there in that world. Hi, I'm Zach Pousman. I'm the head of Helpfully. We're the research and strategy team that helps Tarkenton create new value and new innovations for our partners and our big enterprise clients. Innovation is really, of course, about perspective. How do we make sure people can look at the world with those eyes of an innovator? When we partner into projects like this, we think a lot about that team, how to structure it. But I think one of the key or most important elements of that to us is just being open and curious. Some people are just built with curiosity in their hearts, and they're always just asking questions. And that's one of the just key attributes, right, of a good innovator is someone who's not willing to just accept the world as it is, but instead just asks that common rhetorical question like, yeah, but why? Why does it work this way? How could it be different? Why should we do this versus that? Someone needs to ask, those questions. And so we just love people who are so inquisitive and curious. Also, when you're designing an innovation team, you need to be careful about people who are very divergent thinkers versus very convergent thinkers. And that just means people who are going to be really good at exploring new ideas and making lots. So that's your classic kind of creative brainstorming activity set. And then you need also people who are really good at measuring and weighing out which of these ideas are any good. And that's either two different teams or two different kinds of people who get, connected into this innovation process. So we're actually making really good decisions once we get all this really great brainstormed work. I think in terms of background, innovators come from anywhere. Some of them, of course, have really creative minds and have, are creative professionals. So they're designers, they're, illustrators. They're always working in these creative fields. Also, though, technologists are extremely creative and are always inventing new things, little ways of working. I think we've got a really great network at Helpfully of people who are on the creative side, on the technology side, on the research side as well. And we even have really great connections into academia, so we can go and tap niche expertise that would just bring you that innovation juice that you need in order to go and solve cool new problems. One of my key pieces of advice for people who want to do better innovation work is to go get insights from the real world. And what that means to me is that there are people, those future customers of yours, the people who are trying to muddle through that today, patients, new small businesses, financial professionals, anybody who's struggling with something and has some kind of frustration. There's so much power in going into their lives, actually into their offices or their homes, to understand better what they're up to. So one of my biggest pieces of advice is always just get out of your office. And I don't mean that in a mean way. I just mean the answers to these innovation questions and the answers to the value you can create are actually out there in that world. And so when you imagine doing research, that's really just a structured way to go and get those insights from the outside world, bring them inside, and then use them as a resource and use them as that engine to help you find a way to solve problems for people. I think that's one of there's the key parts of the partnership between Helpfully and Tarkenton. It's just we so deeply believe in helping people, and the best way to do that is to go out and ask them, hey, what are you struggling with? What's going on? How could we help? And really sort of leaning in to the questions that you can ask, but it of course requires you to be in that, in some ways, can be a tough moment, a little bit embarrassing to actually have to ask people like, well, how does this work? Or what do you need? And ask it in that open-ended way, because of course, I think most innovators, most entrepreneurs surely all have kind of an idea of what they want to make. Right? They've already got, I'm going to go solve this kind of problem with this kind of app. It's going to have these kinds of features. And I think that's okay, but don't use your research tools, interviews, observational work, surveys to just go and prove that your idea is right. Instead, go in and say, tell me more about the problem you have, because that will actually help you uncover whether your app idea or whether the way you're thinking about the service you can deliver, this value you can deliver, is right or wrong. You want to get a broader view, if you can, of customers and what they really need and want.